Right, Bismillah. Right, for those joining just now, if you've got a question in fiqh, write it down. After the lesson, I'll give you a chance to ask. After that, we'll go on to Arabic, inshallah. And then if you have a question, we can take it, and then we'll end off with ad-da wa ad-dawa, inshallah. What I'll do is I'll work out a timing such that whoever wants to only attend fiqh, for example, we'll tell you come first from, let's say, 10 to 8 to 8:15. Arabic, let's say you're only attending Arabic, you'll come from about 9 to 9:45, for example. And we can see how long we can sustain that for until we change. Right, you guys can all hear me?
No.
Yeah. Yes, sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inshallah, today we're starting with a new lesson, and that is fiqh. We had planned to take Kitab al-Zakah, which is the book of compulsory charity, and in it you find different masail. Inshallah, we'll take that from tomorrow. However, in today's lesson, I just want to explain a little bit about fiqh, a little bit about why some of the scholars differed, and also how we'll be taking our fiqh. So one of the reasons for this lesson is when I was in Medina University, I studied there for almost 11 years. On many occasions, a lot of things happened when it came to masail of fiqh. One specific occasion that I remember, I one day read Dhuhr in the university masjid. And one guy came up to me after Salah. He told me, Sheikh, why don't you like the Sunnah? And I was surprised at his question. I actually didn't understand what he meant first time around. So I said, what do you mean? And he said, why don't you like the Sunnah? So I asked, what do you mean again? I mean, why are you saying that? He said, because everybody in Salah in this masjid, and he was one of the people who made adhan, he said, when we read Salah, we join our legs together. Okay, so this guy joins with the next guy and the next guy and the next guy. And he said, you don't do that. And the hadith to do this is in Sahih al-Bukhari. So he said, why don't you like to practice upon the Sunnah? So I was a little bit surprised, a little bit shocked. And I replied to him, I said, you know what? This is not a matter of somebody liking or not liking the Sunnah. Have you read the explanation of the hadith? Have you read what other scholars said when it came to interpreting the hadith? Have you said what Ibn Hajar himself, rahimahullah, in Fath al-Bari says about that hadith? So he said, no. I told him that, why don't you go and research and come and tell me? Anyways, later on, a few weeks, in fact, almost a month later, I saw him in one of the restaurants. I told him, Sheikh, how's it? Do you remember me? He didn't really say anything. I said, did you research that mas'ala? And he said, no. I said, you know what? I went through the whole thing. What you're taking is I would call it a fringe opinion. Maybe 1 or 2% of the ummah see by that opinion. In fact, less than 1%. I said the other 99% don't believe it's sunnah. They don't believe that that hadith means you must literally join your legs together in salah. I said, what you've got to understand is that if you see something as a sunnah, however, that same hadith, somebody else doesn't see it as a sunnah, it doesn't mean they don't like the sunnah. In fact, you may be a minority opinion, and it's not always a minority opinion is wrong. No, but these are masail in fiqh. This doesn't make a person not like the sunnah or leave the dalil, etc. He's following the majority of scholars in that mas'ala. So the reason I mention this is to give you an introduction. Why do the scholars differ? And what should be, or what's our responsibility towards this difference of opinion, especially because we are living in a time where we have the internet. I'm speaking right now, you speak, anybody writes something, you can reach east, west, north, and south, not even in a split second, live. As we speak, people everywhere can hear. People's environments are different. The scholars there are different. The madhahib are different. And because of these small nitty-gritties, we end up causing major disasters because we didn't understand that there's more than one opinion in fiqh. And even if we don't agree with it, inshallah, the ulama were not there to intentionally misguide the people. No, inshallah, they're between 1 reward and 2 rewards. So why do people differ? It comes down to many reasons. Few main reasons I want to mention. The first is it comes down to the understanding of the people, and people's intellect is different. People's understanding is different. How clever people are is also different. Where you grew up also plays a part in the way you think. So this difference of opinion actually occurred at the time of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's many instances where this difference of opinion occurred. So for example, one instance, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum, Sallu fi Bani Qurayza. He said, read Salah in or at Banu Qurayza, where their dwellings were. Some of the Sahaba understood the hadith literally. So as they were going on the way, the time of Salatul Asr was about to finish, and they refused. This group of Sahaba, they refused to perform their Salah. They said, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, read there only. So we're not going to read on the way, even if the time passes. That's one group. The second group said, no. What he meant by this was, let's leave quickly from our houses so we get onto the road, but it's important for us to perform our Salah on time. So this is two groups of who? From the best generation. And they differing in this mas'ala. What does it come down to? It comes down to understanding, somebody being very literal, or one group being very, very literal, and the other trying to derive the reason for the statement of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After he heard about that, he did not reprimand either group. So what do you learn from this? At times, some things are open for interpretation. You may have your opinion, but you don't have to fight with the next person. Another example is the hadith of Malik ibn al-Huwayrith radiyallahu anhu. He says when narrating the salah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that in the odd raka'at, so for example, when a person is getting up, if your salah is 4 units, and in the third you're getting up for the fourth. So generally, most of us, we get up straight away. We don't sit, what's called jalsatul istiraha. So when he narrates the salah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says no. Before he got up for that fourth rak'ah, he sat for a little while in the third, just a moment or two. And they call it jalsatul istiraha, where a person sits and he takes like a form of a break, a form of a rest, and it's just a split second. So notice how this hadith is correct, authentic. A Sahabi narrates it, but then they differ. You find a group, and this again comes down to people's intellect, people's way of thinking. A group of them say no. The senior Sahaba who narrated the Salah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, none of them had this jalsatul istiraha. Hence, we will take with the opinion of the majority and those who are senior. That's an opinion. That's a way of looking at it. A second opinion says no. Malik ibn al-Huwayrith radiyallahu anhu, he came towards the end of the life of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So maybe there was some change. Hence, in our terms today, he had the latest version of the salah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's a second way of thinking. A third way of thinking, they said that, you know what, both ahadith are correct, but let's try and gather. Let's do jam between these pieces of evidence. As for the hadith of the senior Sahaba who did not narrate this, they call jalsatul istiraha, that was at the time where the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam wasn't that old. He was fit and healthy. As for later on in his life, he became older, maybe he needed to. Hence, we will derive a ruling to say that if a person is old and he's in need of that moment of rest, he can do it, and if not, he shouldn't. So look at how the hadith is correct, but you've got 3 ways of looking at it. And that's why when it comes to some people, especially today, you hear, oh, you don't follow the hadith, or as that brother told me, you don't like the sunnah, or this is the hadith. No, it's not to do with that. At times, and this you can write down, you may have a piece of evidence, either an ayah or a hadith. Remember, all ayat, verses of the Quran, we agree that every single one of them is correct from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the word of Allah. They call it qat'iyyu thubut. Qat'iyyu thubut means in terms of it being evidence, in terms of it being authentic, it's 100%. We have no doubt in it. The verses of the Quran, those are hadith, for example, which are completely authentic. However, something may be evidence which is 100%, you know where it came from. However, people, at times, there may be no difference of opinion in interpreting it. So they say qat'iyyu thubut, qat'iyyu dalala, which means it itself is correct evidence, and the message or what we take from this is clear cut. So for example, When Allah says, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةِ, establish your salah, perform your salah. It's an order to perform salah. Nobody can now say, no, this ayah doesn't show us that salah is compulsory. No, why? It comes in the Quran. Hence, this verse is completely authentic and correct and qat'i, and its meaning is also qat'i. At times you find that the verse or the hadith is qat'i, where authentic. However, it's what it proves is not 100%. It's left open for interpretation. So they say قطعي الثبوت ظني الدلالة. ظني الدلالة means the evidence itself is correct, but ظني الدلالة, it's left open for interpretation. I give you an example. There's some of the scholars who say when it comes to a woman, if a man had to touch her, just touch like this, his wudu breaks. Obviously, they have conditions amongst themselves, they differ, but roughly the opinion is if you touch a woman, your wudu breaks. Where did they get that from? أَوْ لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ, right? In the long ayah of wudu. أَوْ لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ, we all agree is an ayah of the Quran. However, some scholars interpreted it as, no, it doesn't mean just touch. It means marital relations. So look at how the verse is correct, but there's two ways of looking at it. And you find, inshallah, all the ulama, especially those who were closer to prophethood, those who came in the first 3 generations, inshallah, they did not intend to misguide anybody. They tried their best. So you've got, I said, قطعي الثبوت قطعي الدلالة قطعي الثبوت ظني الدلالة. Then you got pieces of evidence which are ظني الثبوت قطعي الدلالة. So its message is clear cut. However, the people are debating and they're arguing, is it actually authentic? And that's where it comes in, where some will say, okay, no, but this hadith, we're using it. It says do this. However, the others will say, no, but it's a weak hadith. And they debate amongst themselves. And also when it comes to the criteria of grading a hadith, you'll find major scholars from the past. And Imam al-Bukhari, rahimahullah, will say this is correct. And Tirmidhi will say he have his own opinion. And you find Imam Ahmad will have another opinion. At times they agree, at times they don't agree. Who are they? They were all people of knowledge who learned but had their own opinions. So at times, as I said, the hadith may be showing you something clear-cut. Do this. However, the debate is this actually a hadith or it's not? And the last point I'd like to touch on, or the last category when it comes to this, is they say ظني الثبوت ظني الدلالة. It itself, the hadith itself, is ظني. We're not sure is it authentic or not. Some will say yes, some will say no. And even if we agree it's correct, does it mean that we should take by it or not, in the sense that, does it show that it's referring to a specific ruling? So I give you an example. When it comes to the hadith where the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling the people, he says, a person should not urinate in water. And there's many riwayat of the hadith when it comes to a pool of water, or when it comes to or taking a bath in a small pool, etc. Some scholars, they mention that, okay, if we agree the hadith is correct, does that mean the water becomes najis? Some say it becomes najis, impure. Others say no, it's just so that he doesn't spoil the water for others, but it's not najis. You see, it's open for interpretation. So when you understand this, you realize that fiqh is not just black and white, and this one left the dalil and this one. No. Inshallah, all the ulama, as I mentioned, all the imams of the different madhahib al-arba'ah, especially the 4 imams, and there are other imams who had different opinions. You find them today. So for example, at times you'll find the opinion of Sufyan al-Thawri, Ibn Uyaynah, Dawood al-Zahiri, and others. Inshallah, they tried their best, and obviously everybody is entitled to their opinion with their evidence, and others are able to debate respectfully. So that's something I wanted to touch on. Another point I want to touch on, and the reason why, again, I'm doing this is because you all come from different countries, different backgrounds. There's those where in your country, you may be following a madhab. Others in your country, you may be following today what's called, what they call al-qawl al-rajih, or al-qawl al-sahih, where there's certain ulama who've chosen certain opinions, and you feel that their opinions are correct and you follow them. Wherever you may be, inshallah, everybody is trying to follow Allah and His Messenger to the best of their ability. Nobody is trying to follow their desire or follow their hawa and misguide people. So it's not a matter of people liking or not liking the Sunnah. It's a matter of understanding and also realizing that We're living in a time that something similar did not occur like this ever, where somebody speaks here and your voice, your opinion will reach all the different houses in the world, and everybody is practicing Islam, or the fiqh part of Islam, in different ways, and at times you may cause a major problem. So for example, in the Hanafi Madhub, they don't say Ameen loudly after Fatiha, and in the other madhahib they would say Ameen. Some of the madhahib, they read Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim loudly in Salah when they start, and others don't. Others raise their hands, what they call Raf'ul Yadayn, before going into ruku', and then they differ, should we raise after going to ruku', after sajda, etc. And some don't. So everybody has their piece of evidence. As I mentioned, they all between 1 reward and 2 rewards. What we've got to realize as students learning now, here you are learning. You are not taking a fatwa to go and implement on your people. No. Also, what your community may be on, at times you're trying to teach them a sunnah, or what you may believe as a sunnah. They're not doing anything haram, and you cause a major problem. Remember, to keep the unity of a place where you're not clear-cut going against Allah and His Messenger, you're following an opinion, you're not disregarding the sunnah. It's permissible, it's encouraged, and it actually happened. So I give you an example. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells Aisha radiallahu anha that if your people, i.e. the kuffar of Quraysh, if they were not so close to Jahiliyyah, i.e. they just became new Muslims, if they weren't so close to Jahiliyyah, I would have destroyed the Kaaba and built it on the qawa'id of Ibrahim alayhi salam, the foundations of Ibrahim alayhi salam. As you people know, today the Kaaba is roughly a cube, and then you've got what's called the hatim. It's that semi-circular white, I wouldn't say white object, but like a semicircle on the side of the Kaaba. It's called the hatim or al-hijr. So that's originally part of the Kaaba. It's mentioned that Quraysh, when they wanted to build the Kaaba, even though they disbelieved and they were in all forms of jahiliyyah, they said that when it comes to the house of Allah, we should only use that which is pure in terms of our wealth. They ran out of wealth, so they only managed to make the cube, and they left that out. But that's also part of the Kaaba, that semicircular structure. So the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells Aisha radiallahu anha, if your people weren't so close to Jahiliyyah, I would have broken it down and made it the whole way. So what's he trying to say? He's trying to say that I'm looking at the condition of the people, and if I had to now go and destroy the Kaaba, they just became Muslim, they'll say, what type of religion is this? We just accepted Islam, and he's destroying the whole Kaaba, what we knew for generations and generations. So notice how, yes, it's correct, the qawaid of Ibrahim, but the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam is teaching us to use our brains. At times, what may be a sunnah, what you may see as something which is a little bit extra, but it may cause a major problem. Example, as I mentioned, you go to a masjid where nobody says Ameen loudly. If they are learned, they know the difference of opinion. You believe it's sunnah, they also know that that opinion exists by all means. But at times they don't know. They end up calling you a fasiq, calling you somebody who follows his desire, end up being thrown out of the masjid, etc. There's no need for that. Rather, you educate them and slowly get there. So that's what I really want to get at. That when it comes to these classes, inshallah, how we'll go about these classes, inshallah, we'll go through different chapters in fiqh, and then we will take firstly the Hanafi Madhub. Why the Hanafi Madhub? Because it's the closest, it's the first from the madhahib. Remember, there were many ulama before who had their own madhahib. What's a madhab? It's a school. For example, let's say us learning here today, and you learn a certain way. It's a school, it's a way of thinking, and somebody else who may be my neighbor teaching, because we're in the same environment, we agree on most things, but we differ on a few things. And then somebody who may be in a completely different country, he also has his school of students. That's how it all came about. There were many different madhahib. Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, rahimahullah, was one of the people who had his own madhab, and then it disappeared, they say after about 100 years. But Allah chose through His wisdom that these 4 madhahib would remain. They would remain famous, and they would remain up till today, where they are practiced upon by almost all the Muslimin. So, inshallah, we will take the Hanafi madhab. Firstly, masail from this. So, Kitab al-Zakah, we will start with the conditions of Zakah. After that, you move on to Zakatu Bahimat al-An'am, which is zakah speaking about those who keep animals, different conditions. Then you've got zakah of An-Naqdain, which is gold and silver and your paper money today, as well as your stock for those who are in business. Then you've got Al-Hubub wa-Thimar, those who grow crops, etc. Do you pay zakah on them? When do you pay zakah on them, etc.? Then we come to Zakatul Fitr or Sadaqatul Fitr. And after that, you come to the people who are deserving of zakah. Under that, there's many different masail. I would have loved to take a book specifically, but what happens is that when you take the book and then you're going to go and learn a different madhab, you'll find that it's generally not in the same order. And at times there's masail which may be outdated, where a lot of times they're speaking about, for example, a person who's trying to buy his own freedom, i.e. he was a slave. Today there's no slavery. Inshallah, we'll go into all that in detail, bi'idhnillah. My idea is that firstly, you take one madhab. The reason why you can't take 4 madhab one time, especially if you're beginning, you'll be confused. And then you find people today, you ask them a question, they say, those who've studied for a long time, they'll tell you difference of opinion, difference of opinion. What's the answer? A person wants to practice. So inshallah, you'll take that. And after that, we'll go to the Maliki madhab and then the Shafi'i madhab and then the Hanbali madhab. And we'll wrap up. So every time you take a new madhab, you'll be revising the other one and they'll come together. So where do they agree? Where do they differ? Where do they agree? Where do they differ? Inshallah, in that way, you'll take the masail a few times. You'll also be able to understand why the people differ, why some schools, they have a certain methodology when it comes to looking at the pieces of evidence as well as the nusus, etc. I think for today, I'll stop there. Tomorrow, inshallah, we start with Kitab al-Zakah. A lot of the times you must remember that there's some of you who've taken fiqh, this may be just like revision for you. There's some of you who are starting out at the very beginning and some of you who are in the middle. If you don't understand, just bear with the lesson, inshallah. What you don't understand, ask. Also make your notes and you'll slowly pick up. You'll find that we all here to learn. It's okay to make mistakes. I'll also be asking you questions. From the Hanafi Madhub, inshallah, my masail, I'll take them mainly from Al-Quduri. There's a book in the Hanafi Madhub called Quduri, as well as Hidayah, as well as Al-Ikhtiyar. Al-Ikhtiyar generally has your pieces of evidence. It gives you one dalil. Then when it comes to the Maliki Madhab, Mukhtasar Khalil. Mukhtasar Khalil has one very good sharh explanation. I'll send it to you. Then the Shafi'i Madhab between Manhaj al-Tullab, Sheikh Zakaria al-Ansari, and Minhaj al-Talibin, Sheikh al-Nawawi, rahimahullah, the author of Riyadh al-Salihin. He was a Shafi'i. Hanbali Madhab, you'll find us between Zad al-Mustaqni', mainly Muntaha al-Iradat, Kashaf al-Qina', inshallah. I think that's about it. Tomorrow, inshallah, we start with Kitab al-Zakah, and I'll give you a time. So we'll try to keep our fiqh lesson so long, and then we'll have our questions. Then we'll start Arabic. Whoever's attending here does want to attend there, no problem, inshallah. Any questions you guys got? Anybody wants to ask anything?
I have a question. Assalamu alaikum. So it's more of like asking for advice. So how would you advise we take notes?
It depends. Look, everybody is different. Every teacher is different. Every person is different. You find that some people need to study where they need to sit for 3 hours with a book while the door is locked and they need to read everything, whereas the other people, they study before the exam lying on the bed. Same point here when it comes to taking notes. There's those who write every single word. There's those who write a summary. There's those who go back to the recording and then write. It's up to you. Whatever suits you best. You've got to remember that, and this is also a life lesson. At times, a person may advise you according to the situation. In fact, a lot of the times, they advise you according to the situation you're in. So you find if you go to somebody for advice when it comes to seeking knowledge or marriage, they've generally only been on this path once. They've only been married once. They're only going to speak from their perspective. You can take from there, you can try, but then you've got to see what works for you. Does taking shorthand notes work for you? Does typing on your phone work for you? Does writing every word work for you? What works for you? Generally, I'll tell you for myself, when I started, I used to first sit in the lessons only, and then I just used to listen. There's Masjid Nabawi. Before that, we also studied here. That was in English. After that, there was one student who suggested that we write notes. Well, he told me, he said, why aren't you writing? And I said, I don't speak Arabic. He said, no, start writing from tomorrow. He got me a book. He said, that's from Shaitan. Anyway, so in some of the lessons I attended, you find the sheikhs would discourage you to write while they were speaking. There were others who would encourage you to write every single word. So it just depends. I found great benefit in writing every single word the sheikh said. I eventually got to that stage. So it's up to you. Anything else?
Sheikh, would you be able to share the books you mentioned, Al-Quduri, Al-Hidayah, and the other books?
I write them for you, bearing in mind that I am going to take the masail from those books. I'm not going to open the book, maybe very rarely. I'm going to tell you today, we're taking this mas'ala, this mas'ala, this mas'ala. Why? It's going to make it easier for you. If you take a book, for example, let's say a Hanafi book in Kitab al-Zakah is going to start with shurut, conditions. A Hanbali book, the same thing. Mukhtasar Khalil, he goes straight into speaking about zakah on camels and sheep and cows. So how are you going to relate all the four, especially if you're starting out at the beginning? The books, you've got many books. Look, Hanafi Madhub, generally your beginner level will be something like Nurul Idah, followed by Al-Quduri. Quduri has a sharh called, sharh means explanation, has a sharh called Lubab. After that, you could go to Hidayah. There's Kanzud Daqa'iq is very good in the sense that it's very summarized and every single word has a meaning. It's similar to Zadul Mustaqni in Hanbali Madhab. After that, this is still the Hanafi Madhab. Then how they've written the books, again, beginner, where you just get the opinion. Then the next level is where you get the opinion and a piece of evidence. The next level is where you find the people inside the madhab debating. And the last level generally is where you find the madhab debating other madhahib. So for the Hanafi madhab, you find the fourth level where people debate other madhahib more often than not is they called Hashiyat ibn Abidin, Ibn Abidin's Hashiyah. Then as for the Maliki madhab, you find people start with what's called Al-Izziyah is one of the books. Then you've got after Izziyah, there's also Al-Ashmawiyah. Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani has a book, I'm sure it's called Al-Muqaddimah, where he speaks about different Masail Aqidah as well as Fiqh. After that, you go deeper, there's Mukhtasar Khalil, and then that's generally the matan. After that, deeper or a higher level where they debate one another is Hashiyat al-Dasuqi. Then Shafi'i Madhab, you've got the very beginning, things like Matan Abi Shuja' and Safinatun Najah. A little bit deeper than that is Manhaj al-Tullab, Sheikh Zakaria al-Ansari. Deeper than that, Minhaj al-Talibin. And one of the best explanations for that is Mughni al-Muhtaj, al-Khatib al-Sharbini. And then deeper than that, you find An-Nawawi has a book called, in his in Al-Majmu', he explains a lot of difference of opinion. Hanbali Madhab, people generally start with Akhsar al-Mukhtasarat or Umdatul Fiqh. After that, they go a little bit higher. Remember, Hanbali Madhab, Ibn Qudama is a big sheikh in the Hanbali Madhab especially. He wrote Umdatul Fiqh. He also wrote Al-Kafi. He wrote Al-Muqni'. Then you've got Zadul Mustaqni', which is a summary of that. Deeper than that, you go to Muntaha al-Iradat. Deeper than that, generally Al-Mughni, written by Ibn Qudama. Inshallah, all this, some of you, it might sound like, what is this guy speaking about? You'll get there slowly, inshallah. Anything else before we move on to Arabic? I think I'll take one or two more questions. Anything? Nothing?
The question regarding to the Arabic.
Yeah.
I couldn't come on Friday because of a guest. So did we do I couldn't come on Friday because of I had a guest. But did we do advanced and then beginner, or was
Okay, so what I realized is that there's some people who don't know how to read and write yet. So that's like your beginner level. Then there's those who know how to read and write, but they haven't taken anything in terms of understanding. So that's your second level. And then your third level is roughly where my students are, where we, Al-Arabiyyatu Bayna Yadayk, in book 1B, we've reached there, and we've taken a little bit of Nahu, and we've taken some of the Medina books. So I need to find out, inshallah, later on from you guys, who's at complete beginner level, cannot read and cannot write. We need to have a class for them. And then who's on level 2 where they can read and write, but they zero when it comes to understanding. So they need to also have a class, and then we carry on with the third class. In the event that there is nobody who needs to start learning from scratch how to read and write, we'll have 2 lessons, and generally those who are more advanced will start with their lesson first, only because the others will be able to benefit, inshallah. And if you're able to go back to the recordings, inshallah, most of them, if not all of them, are there. Please go to them. You'll be able to catch up and cover a lot. The last question with regards to this. Fiqh, anybody? Nobody? Yalla, bismillah. So if you people don't have any questions, we'll go to our Arabic. And then this today will only take where we've reached in the book. We've been taking Al-Arabiyyah to Bayna Yadayk. After that, we will carry on, or after you guys decide what type of class you want, maybe 3-4 days, we'll put 2 separate classes. So beginner level and those who have reached a little bit further. Also, when it comes to tafsir, I remember Naeem wanted to learn tafsir, and I thought it was very important. So inshallah, we'll start with that slowly. There's other subjects which are extremely important, which we need to go through. Sorry, at times we might sit for 2-3 hours, but I don't expect you guys to sit the whole time. Whoever's able to sit. Whoever's not, we teach whoever is here. I benefit generally more than you guys do. So we want to go through Islamic studies in terms of yes, as you mentioned, Sirah, Hadith, and then your general subjects. I believe that everybody should learn. If they naturally not a speaker, they should learn how to speak. They should learn about the mindset, and those types of subjects, inshallah. But we'll take those slowly but surely. Nobody has anything to say, inshallah. We carry on with Arabic. Right, before we start, anybody wants to mention anything here or no? Right, I can't see all you guys. So if anybody wants to read, and I miss you, some names I know, some names I don't know. Anybody who wants to read and I carry on skipping, there's a button there to say lift up hand or raise hand. Allah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Khaybar we had reached, I'm sure, at-Tadrib al-Awwal, we had reached here. It says, read for me, translate, tell me what they're speaking about, and Bismillah, start.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. At-Tadrib al-Awwal, the first exercise. Iqra'ta, read the example.
Yeah, the passage. Fiqh is like a passage.
ثم أجب بنعم. Then answer with yes أو بلا or no. Tick or cross.
Yalla, read.
ترك تابع العراق.
Thabitun, huh? Thabit is a name.
The Thabitul, when you connect it.
No, when you join, you must remember, if you're joining a tanween with an alif lam, you have to add a noon with a kasra. So, example, in the Quran, Allah says, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ إِنِّي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ إِلَيْكُمْ جَمِيعًا. If you stop there, جَمِيعًا, then الَّذِي لَهُ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ. And if you carry on, جَمِيعًا الَّذِي. So, تَرَكَ ثَابِتٌ الْعِرَاقَ. If you join. If you don't join, تَرَكَ ثَابِتٌ الْعِرَاقَ. Carry on.
ترك ثابت العراق وانتقل إلى جدة.
And translate.
ثابت left to Iraq.
No, Thabit left Iraq, not left to Iraq.
Thabit left Iraq. And he goes to Jeddah.
انتقل. Who was here about 3 lessons ago? Let's look who was here. انتقل عالم غير.
Okay. Yeah.
انتقل. I told you, what does انتقل mean?
He moved.
He moved. So when they say انتقل إلى رحمة الله of a person when he's died, he says he's moved to the mercy of Allah. Same thing. وانتقل إلى جدة. He's moved to Jeddah. Umar from India. Jeddah is where, and how many different ways can you pronounce it? That's another thing. If those of you joining new, generally, if I taught you something once, even if it was months ago, I'll ask you. Ask Khaybar, he knows. Jeddah, how can you pronounce? How many different ways? With us? Not with us. طيب. Naeem.
3 ways, Sheikh. So جدة جدة جدة.
جدة جدة جدة. طيب, carry on. خيبر.
هو الآن مدير الشركة في جدة. He is right now the manager of a company in Jeddah.
Ahsant. Those starting off, what I want you to just realize is that all these words you see here are generally, they all either an ism, a noun, fi'l, a verb, or a harf, which people translate as a particle. So, for example, وانتقل, verb is an action word, so is moving, for example. ترك, he left. So those are all verbs. ثابت is a noun, the name of a person. Iraq, noun. Jeddah, noun. The reason why I'm telling you to start being able to differentiate is because they have different rules when it comes to the i'rab, when it comes to the fatha, kasra, dhamma, etc. Carry on.
ثابت سعيد في جدة مع أسرته. ثابت is happy in Jeddah with his family. جدة مدينة كبيرة وجميلة جدا. Jeddah is a big city and a beautiful and a very beautiful. يذهب ثابت مع أسرته إلى شاطئ البحر يوم الخميس. ثابت went with his family to the
يذهب is
to go.
He goes.
Thabit goes with his family to the seaside يوم الخميس on Tuesday.
Khamis. Khamis is closest to which number?
Oh, 5, Thursday.
Thursday, because the week starts on Sunday. Carry on.
ويقضي يوم الجمعة في مكة. And he spent the Jummah in the Makkah.
Yeah, he spends the Friday in Makkah.
He spends the Friday in Makkah. يذهب إلى مكة وهو يذهب إلى مكة هو وأسرته يوم الجمعة صباحا.
يوم الجمعة.
يوم الجمعة صباحا. He goes to Mecca. هو
وأسرته, literally him and his family. Remember,
and his family.
In Arabic, when you're translating to English, don't make the mistake of translating word for word, or nothing will make sense. Carry on.
Him and his family goes to Mecca on Jummah in the morning. تستغرق الرحلة من جدة إلى مكة ساعة تقريبا. تستغرق. ما معنى تستغرق؟
تقريبا.
He spends.
That's when you're absent. When you miss one lesson, then that's what happens. تقريبا. Naeem.
تقريبا is approximately.
Approximately, roughly, yeah. So the journey takes roughly an hour.
The journey roughly takes
You
an hour.
asked me تقريبا, I think twice now, thrice.
No, I said تستغرق. ما معنى تستغرق؟
Okay, طيب. Carry on.
يصلي ثابت وأسرته صلاة الجمعة في مسجد الحرام. ثابت and his family perform the salah of Jumu'ah in the Masjid al-Haram. ويصلي الأسرة أيضا هناك. And he prays Asr also there. بعد صلاة العصر يذهب إلى بيته في جدة. After the Asr Salah, he goes to his house in Jeddah.
طيب, Khaybar, ask Naeem. Read the question and Naeem answer.
ثابت مدير شركة.
مدير شركة مضاف إليه.
مدير شركة.
نعم.
طيب next.
ثابت يسكن مع أسرته.
نعم.
نعم. Literal translation is does he live with his family? They ask and say yes. Carry on.
يقضي ثابت يوم الخميس في السوق.
يوم can you see يوم that فتحة يوم
يوم الخميس في السوق.
لا. لا.
طيب إذا أين؟ What's the correct answer? Yeah.
في شاطئ البحر.
Khaybar is right or wrong?
He is correct. Sheikh Naeem is correct.
Right. Anybody else want to read? I will ask. Whoever wants to answer, put your hand up. يقضي يوم الجمعة في مكة. He spends جمعة in Mecca. Anyone? No one?
نعم.
Who?
عالمجيد.
عالمغير. يذهب إلى مكة في الصباح. عالمغير.
نعم.
تستغرق الرحلة إلى مكة ساعة ونصف ساعة. عالمغير.
لا.
طيب كم? How long does it take? ساعة تقريبا.
Yeah.
طيب next one. Let's ask somebody who's new. شيخ إبراهيم. يصلي ثابت صلاة الجمعة في المسجد الحرام.
He read Jummah.
Yeah, they're asking you, is this sentence correct or wrong? He performs Salatul Jumu'ah in Masjid al-Haram. Masjid al-Haram is a masjid of Makkah.
It's correct.
Correct. What's correct in Arabic?
Is correct. He read Jummah at Masjid.
Now, what's correct in Arabic? How do you say yes in Arabic? Or correct?
نعم.
نعم. أحسنت. طيب, somebody new. شيخ عمر في المدينة. يصلي ثابت صلاة العصر في جدة يوم الجمعة.
خطأ.
خطأ. طيب وين يصلي؟
في مكة. لا.
وين؟
في مكة.
في مكة. أحسن. خطأ also means a mistake. صل. This is a different exercise. It says صل بين السؤال والجواب المناسب. Literally means join between the question and the answer, which is correct. Those of you who are starting new, remember, they trying to repeat to you all these words and all these lessons such that you've taken it from so many different angles and you don't forget. Generally, Al-Arabiya بين يديك, as I told you guys before, is more conversational. Medina books are more grammatical, and you've got to have a balance in between the both of them. طيب, who wants to try? كم تستغرق الرحلة إلى المدينة? That's the question. Then you've got to find an answer. Naeem, let's go.
كم تستغرق رحلة إلى المدينة؟ That would be تستغرق 4 ساعات.
طيب, next. Naeem.
إلى أين تذهب الآن؟ أذهب إلى العمل.
طيب, ماشي. كيف تقضي الوقت في المدينة المنورة؟
أعمل طبيبا في المستشفى.
Anybody got a big answer? هلا غير.
أحضر الدروس في المسجد النبوي.
أحسنت. well done. من أين حضرته؟ هلا غير.
حضرت من جدة.
حضرت.
حضرت من جدة.
أحسنت. Can you see that? Changing that one fatha and one dhamma here. حضرت means you came, and حضرت means I came from. The next one, I'll read and to search for someone's name. Omar from India, are you here?
Yes.
Read.
هل معك الجنسية العراقية؟
Answer.
نعم. معي جنسية العراقية.
The next one, let's see who's new. إبراهيم وعمر. طيب عمر المدني يلا.
ماذا تعمل هنا؟
أيوة.
أعمل طبيبا في مستشفى.
في المستشفى.
في المستشفى.
طبيب is a
مستشفى.
doctor. Saying I work as a doctor in
Doctor.
المستشفى. Next. Amira, if you want to read, you can read. All the other sisters didn't come today, but if you want to read, if not, we'll carry on asking the boys. طيب خيبر يلا اقرأ.
كيف تذهب العمل؟
كيف تذهب؟
عملي.
كيف
إلى
تذهب
العمل.
إلى
إلى
العمل.
العمل.
Remember, look, there's three. There's خيبر, علم غير, Sheikh Matora, and then Naeem. They've been here for a long time, so generally I'm stricter with them. There's things I've taught them, and there's mistakes they shouldn't make. The ones who are new, it will take time for you to pick up. So inshallah, we'll let you make some mistake. That's fine. But you will correct slowly. As for those, they generally their level is slightly high. They've learned a long time, so there's some mistakes they shouldn't be making, like habartu and habarta. It's an example. Carry on.
أذهب بالحافلة.
أذهب بالحافلة. Huh?
Yeah.
The last one.
لماذا تسكن في القرية؟ القرية هادئة والهواء نقي.
What's والهواء نقي mean?
The air is clean.
The air is clean. The new students, don't worry when it comes to making a mistake. We all make mistakes. We all learn from mistakes. Those who are shy don't learn from mistakes. Naeem, I'm only seeing your questions. Okay, I'll get to those questions now. You must just tell me at the end. I think we can read this. Alam Gheer, let's read. Bismillah.
التدريب اقرأ الفكرة ثم أجب.
التدريب. Which number? التدريب الثالث.
التدريب الثالث. اقرأ الفكرة ثم أجب عن الأسئلة. عبد العزيز طالب كيني. عبد العزيز a Kenyan student. حضر من كينيا للدراسة في جامعة أم القرى في مكة المكرمة. He came from Kenya to study in the university in the University of القرى in مكة المكرمة.
أحسنت.
يدرس عبد العزيز اللغة العربية والثقافة الإسلامية. Abdul Aziz studies Arabic language and culture, Islamic culture. Abdul Aziz يحب مكة. Abdul Aziz loves مكة ويقضي الوقت صباحا في الجامعة. He spends time in the university.
ويقضي الوقت صباحا. He spends time.
He spends times in the mornings. He spends morning times in the university. Correct.
Those who are new, there's certain words you slowly start picking up. One, two, three, four. You pick up slowly. Every lesson, if you pick up 2-3 words, especially if you're completely new, is something very good. Just make sure you carry on attending. Carry on.
ويصلي العصر والمغرب والعشاء في المسجد الحرام. And he performs his Asr, Maghrib, Isha in the Masjid al-Haram.
طيب, let's ask عمر المدني. ما جنسية عبد العزيز؟
جنسيته من كينيا.
جنسيته عبد العزيز كيني. So
Kini.
when you're answering, you don't generally have to repeat this part. If you know the answers, he's saying, what's Abdul Aziz's nationality? What is he? So say Abdul Aziz is Kenyan. طيب من أين حضر عمر number 2 عمر number 2 from India
where he from where he come from?
yeah answer
From حضرت من كينيا.
no من أين حضر هو where did he come from if you say حضرت it means you came from
Okay. حضرت من كينيا.
أي أحسنت حضر من كينيا طيب أين يدرس who's new here إبراهيم
Does that mean where is he studying?
sorry أين يدرس yeah where is he studying أين is always where
He is أين مكة مكرمة.
yeah so say in Makkah
In Makkah.
في جامعة أم القرى في مكة in the University of القرى there's a university in Makkah known as القرى one of the reasons Makkah is called القرى means mother and Qura means city so the mother of all cities the main city in Makkah أحسنت well done ماذا يحب عبد العزيز what does عبد العزيز like who wants to answer
Do I go again?
yeah go again the
He
new students
likes
if you know answer it's good practice for you guys huh
he likes what do you call it tilawat.
No, it says ماذا يحب عبد العزيز what does عبد العزيز like طيب نعيم help him out
عبد العزيز يحب مكة.
أحسنت كيف يقضي يومه آدم غير
يقضي الوقت صباحا في الجامعة ويصلي العصر والمغرب والعشاء في المسجد الحرام.
أحسنت so you can say يقضي وقته في الجامعة وفي المسجد الحرام he spends his time in the university and المسجد الحرام ماذا يفعل في المسجد الحرام نعيم not نعيم عمر المدني
نعم
ماذا يفعل في المسجد الحرام ينام ولا يلعب كورة ولا ماذا يفعل
نصلي له
أحسنت يصلي ماذا يصلي
نصلي صلاة العصر
و
والمغرب والعشاء
أحسنت well done the last one who wants to read نعيم read
عبد الرحمن طبيب إريتريون.
أحسن one thing I want you to notice look at how الرحمن pronounced الرحمن where you pull the meme with an alif but because it's written so often they then skipped out the alif so even if you open the Mus'haf the Quran you'll find it's written like that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim but there's no alif here why so you don't read Abdul Rahmani it's Abdul Rahmani alif is not written but it's pronounced carry on
يعمل في مستشفى الجامعة ويدرس في كلية الطب حضر عبد الرحمن من
حضر and translate يعمل في مستشفى الجامعة what does that mean
he works in the university hospital
carry on
and he teaches in the faculty
أحسنت the College of Medicine ويدرس and ويدرس means
and he learned
yeah يدرس is to learn and يدرس is to teach so notice how comes from a similar same root word it's all about education and if you pronounce this way it's teaching and the other way is learning carry on
حضر عبد الرحمن من إريتريا قبل 8 سنوات He came from Eritrea 8 years ago.
أحسنت. طيب عالم غير carry on. عالم غير
شيخ يا
carry on. خيبر carry on.
ويسكن في شقة
طيب.
جميلة في مدينة الرياض. And he lives in a beautiful flat in the city of Riyadh. يذهب عبد الرحمن إلى المستشفى في الصباح بالسيارة. بسيارته. عبد الرحمن goes to the hospital in the morning by a car. ويذهب إلى الكلية
with his car.
by his car. Yeah, by his car. ويذهب إلى الكلية في المساء. And he goes to the college in the evening. بالحافلة الجامعة.
B. So you've got to realize at times ba after ba you might have alif lam and at times you may not. So here there's no alif lam. بحافلة الجامعة with the college university bus. طيب ما جنسية عبد الرحمن؟ شيء إبراهيم. طيب إريتري ماشي. ما مهنته إبراهيم؟
Can you repeat that?
ما مهنته. So مهنة is literally a job, occupation. Asking what is he? In English, what does it look like he is?
He's a teacher for medicine.
Yeah, so what's his occupation? No, but hold on a second. It says ما مهنته. Khaybar, what do you think?
What's his profession?
Yeah, so what is he? The fact that he's
هو مدرس. لا هو
different answer.
طالب.
Different answer. Anyway.
لا.
هو طبيب.
هو
طبيب.
هذا هو طبيب. So his occupation, it doesn't matter. Yes, he teaches, but as you can see from his picture, what does he look like? He's a doctor.
Yes.
Where does he work? Yeah, some doctors work in the university. أين يعمل? Again, it comes down to how you interpret it. Like that, the Alam Ghair, mashallah, was able to take from the picture that it was Dhuhr time because he looked at the shadow on the Kaaba. Mashallah. أين يعمل? Umar.
طبيب will be the same answer.
أين.
Okay. Eritrea.
I can't hear you. All of you guys, when you speak, you need to speak loud. You need to speak with confidence. Don't worry, no one's going to eat you up.
He works at a hospital. What hospital is known as an he works at hospital.
خيبر.
أين يعمل؟ تعمل في المستشفى. مستشفى الجامعة.
طيب ماشي. أربك. متى حضر من إريتريا عالم غير؟
قبل 8 سنوات.
قبل كم؟
8 سنوات.
أي 8 ها؟ not 8 8.
8 سنوات.
أحسنت. طيب أين يسكن نعيم؟
في شقة جميلة في مدينة الرياض.
طيب ماشي. أين يسكن؟ كيف يذهب إلى المستشفى خيبر؟
بسيارته.
Remember, if you've got a ضمير, you're not going to have alif lam. So you can say السيارته. So it's either سيارته, سيارتي, etc. أين يعمل في الصباح وأين يعمل في المساء عالم غير؟
يذهب إلى
أين؟ أيوة.
يعمل في الصباح إلى المستشفى ويعمل.
Does it make sense if you say he works to the مستشفى?
Yeah, sorry. يذهب إلى المستشفى في الصباح.
يعمل.
Yeah. يذهب.
Yeah, so the question is يعمل, so you have to answer with يعمل. Yeah.
Yeah, يعمل إلى المستشفى في الصباح.
Why يعمل إلى المستشفى؟ طيب خيبر doesn't agree with you. خيبر أين يعمل في الصباح? Answer correctly. خيبر.
الصباح يعمل في المستشفى الجامعة.
Yeah.
طيب وأين يعمل في المساء؟
وفي المساء يعمل في كلية الطب في جامعة.
Where did you get that from?
I guess.
Yeah.
Naeem, do you have any good answer for us?
هو صح وغلط.
I need to think also. Naeem?
Is it feel?
Okay, break down the whole passage. عبد الرحمن طبيب إريتري. طيب يعمل في مستشفى الجامعة. works in المستشفى. يدرس في كلية الطب. He teaches in the College of Medicine. Okay. يعمل في مستشفى الجامعة ويدرس في كلية الطب. طيب حضر عبد الرحمن من إريتريا قبل 8 سنوات ويسكن في شقة جميلة في مدينة الرياض. يذهب عبد الرحمن للمستشفى في الصباح بسيارته ويذهب إلى الكلية في المساء بحافلة الجامعة. طيب نعيم, now you know the answer. نعيم أين يعمل في المساء؟
بحافلة الجامعة.
طيب خيبر, your answer was correct, but you told me you guessed. Is it ويذهب إلى الكلية في المساء? Don't worry about بحافلة الجامعة. They're saying that's what he uses to get there. Where is he going in the evening? He's going to the kulliyah, i.e. he works in the kulliyah in the evening. طيب أحسنت, I think we'll stop there. How long to finish this module? It's taken us a long time. These modules are much longer. Inshallah, we'll finish and we'll go to tomorrow. Inshallah, we'll try to finish on the next day. Then we'll go to Al-Hiwayat, which are your hobbies. طيب, any questions when it comes to Arabic? Naeem, you can get your questions ready, whatever was asked, whatever, and then let me finish. If anybody has any questions here.
Sheikh, I have a question.
Yeah.
When we say من أين حضرت, where did you come from? Is there any other also way of saying this? من أين?
من أين أتيت? أتى is to come. So من أين أتيت? Where did you come from? من أين جئت? Again, where did you come from? Like that. حضرت, you must remember, sometimes these books were written a long time ago. And right now, there's a lot of slang, there's a lot of different words and pronunciations that have entered into Arabic language. These books were written a long time ago. Anything else with regards to this? I think Sheikh Ibrahim, yeah.
So you were telling about the harf ba when it comes before the lam alif, meaning the al or without the al. Can you explain the concept, please?
No, so it's just pronunciation. So it says, example here. If you got alif and lam, you're going to have bis sayyarati. Right? This dhamir shows possession, okay? The moment you got a dhamir, you're not going to have an alif lam. You can't say bis sayyaratihi, okay? Or as sayyaratihi. It's either sayyaratuhu or as sayyara. Also, when I was telling about the alif lam at the beginning. If there's alif lam, then you read straight away bis sayyarati. No alif lam, you have to read them both bi and sa. So bi sayyaratihi.
Bi sayyar.
Ahsant. I think Ibrahim, Naeem from India, not Naeem from India, Umar from India. There's one more who left.
Yes.
Umar al-Madani, those three. And from the new students, we have to see. I think you guys, I'll have to make a separate class for you where we'll start from the beginning. Inshallah, not beginning as in reading and writing. You guys can read and write, but just so you're able to understand a bit better. These lessons you're free to attend and participate. You will benefit, inshallah. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So what does hadara mean? Because I'm in Urdu, I'm used to that something similar like hadarat being used as a noble title. Like of a noble person, they say hadarat before it.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that comes from. Even in Egypt, they'll say hadratak, hadratak. And it's literally, you could loosely translate it where they refer to someone as like, oh, sir, etc. But hadara literally means he was present. So hadara in this sense, in this context, is saying, when did you become present in this country, i.e. when did you come? And again, words, at times, their meanings may differ according to the context. Right. One more question I'll take from Arabic before we go to Naeem's questions. If anyone has. Nobody has. Shall the other sisters who follow, you're free to just follow only. You're free to participate. You need to tell me whatever it is. Naeem, yes, what questions you had?
Yes, Sheikh. So there was 2 questions. The first one states, can we follow all the imams or mas'ala, or should we follow a particular imam or mas'ala?
I didn't get you when you say or mas'ala, but what I want to tell you is a few things. Again, let me give you an example of building a house. I've given you this example before. Let's say you into building, you into construction, Naeem. You know that, for example, if you use a certain type of brick, you've got to use a certain type of cement, and if you build your foundation such, you can only build so much or with a certain material on the top. You can't carry on chopping and changing. Why I'm saying that is, at times an imam in fiqh may have a rule, okay, that he's using, that he believes in. Hence, he's built masail in Kitab al-Tahara and Zakah and Salah and Hajj and Buyu' and Nikah, etc. Going with this rule, there's consistency involved. Whereas if someone is going to come and pick and choose, what you're going to find is that they eventually end up coming with a version of fiqh that no imam ever said. So, for example, when it comes to nikah, the Hanafi Madhub, they say, when speaking about the wali, they say that the wali is supposed to be there, but it's not like compulsory. It's not a pillar of the nikah to be correct. It's not a condition and prerequisite. So there's some people, that's one opinion, but the Hanafi Madhabs themselves, they didn't say that to have 2 witnesses, for example, is not compulsory. Rather, the shuhud, the witnesses, must be there. Now, there's madhahib that speak where you don't need the witness, and then there's another madhab that says you don't have to have i'lanun nikah, which literally means to announce the nikah. How is a nikah announced? Where they call people for walima, so they know these people are married. So what you find ends up happening, especially in today's time, that somebody chooses from this opinion, and then he chooses this one, and he chooses this one, and he chooses this one, then he comes out with a mas'ala that no imam in fiqh said before. And you find that a lot when it comes to buying and selling, and when it comes to other masail. So what I would say, look, for the layman, wherever you are, you may be in a place where the people give you a verdict or fatwa according to the madhab. Hence, there you would follow the madhab because that's who you trust. You trust the people, the scholars who are there, and they follow a madhab. At times, you may be in a place where you trust scholars. Those scholars, they don't particularly stick to a madhab, but generally they following some of the opinions of the later scholars, as well as people like Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, and others. Inshallah, that's also okay. So it would differ according to your level. Are you able to be somebody who can go to all the different books and read and extract? Another important masala is the scholars from the past, they disagreed or they differed when it came to, is the door of ijtihad still open? Ijtihad is where me and you can now come and say, you know what, we are looking through the Quran, through the Hadith, and we're coming up with opinions. Or is that door still open, or was it closed long time ago? They differed amongst themselves. Inshallah, the more correct opinion is that door is always open. However, it's not it's for certain people who meet certain conditions, and it's not all the time. So getting back to your question, if you're going to mix and match with no knowledge, you're going to end up coming out with opinions that nobody ever mentioned, or you're going to come up with a whole collection of items that no scholar ever spoke about. That's one. Two, when it comes to people saying, oh no, we only follow the dalil, we only follow the dalil. Everybody followed the dalil. Everybody has some sort of evidence. And sometimes you may disagree with somebody. Everybody may disagree, say that's not a piece of evidence. But at times, I told you, more often than not, it's not the argument of whether this hadith is strong or weak. It's the actual interpretation. It comes down to the intelligence of the person. Again, I don't want to speak because there's so many different people who are listening to this and would take so many different opinions, and it could cause a big problem everywhere, wherever you are. So you've got to ask generally the local scholars, see what school or methodology are they following, and generally you stick to them, bi'idhnillah. Oh, any other question you had there or no?
Yes, Sheikh, there's just one more. To study with your study circle on Zoom, how do I come into contact with you?
Today I didn't put the link there, but inshallah, if you could just message on Instagram, direct message, inshallah, I'll read that. Or if you go to the previous lesson, in fact, I'll pin in the chat there where there's a Google form, and you can just write your name and number, and then we can add you to the group so you can get the link, inshallah. Anything else?
The brother Khayber is asking to be let in again.
Yeah, I allowed him. I think he has a problem with the internet.
That's all, Sheikh. There's no other question.
Yallah, inshallah. So today we end off with a small fa'idah from Ad-Dawa Ad-Dawa. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We reached the point where Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah was speaking about raja, hope, and how some people are confused between hope and wishful thinking. Hope comes with actually putting the effort in and doing the work, doing good deeds, etc. Then a person hopes in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What comes hand to hand, or what goes hand to hand with hope, is fear, what's called al-khawf. Fear about what? Fear where a person fears that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may not accept their deeds. They fear for the sin they may have committed, how Allah may punish, etc. So a person, what he's trying to get at is a person should always have that balance between hope as well as fearing from the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He then goes to give some examples, and he gives the example of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu. In fact, before that, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, just on one occasion, he was with one of his grandchildren, and it was either Al-Hasan or Al-Hussein, I can't remember now, and he put a date in his mouth. The child put a date in his mouth, and the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he forced him to take it out. He said, you know what? It could be from the dates of sadaqah, i.e. look at how worried he was when it came to eating something that he was not supposed to, even when it came to a date. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu, it's mentioned that, yes, obviously we know these were the best of creation, the best generation. On his deathbed, he told Aisha radiyallahu anha, he says that, return some of the stuff I had taken whilst I was the Khalifa. So as you know, the Khalifa, or the leader at the time, they were given certain allowances from what's called the Baytul Mal. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu himself, just for an interesting piece of information, he was a businessman. So what happened after the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away and he was appointed as the Khalifa, they found him in the marketplace buying and selling. So they told him, you know, what are you doing here in the marketplace when you've got the whole country to run, the affairs of the Muslims? And he says that if I'm not here buying and selling, who's going to feed my family? So eventually they agreed, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu and Abu Ubaidah and others, they agreed that we would give him like a part of the animal, part of a sheep, and obviously they gave him a portion so that he could concentrate with the affairs of the Muslims. This portion came from the Baytul Mal al-Muslimin. So Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, towards the end of his life, he knew that that was for him to use whilst he was the leader. When he's not the leader, it's not for him to use. So he tells his daughter Aisha radiallahu anha, he says that there's a few things I got, and now he knew he was going to die. So he says that it's not for me, send it to Umar because he's the next Khalif. And one of those things was a servant, the other it was a pot, and something else. Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, he himself, it's mentioned that from his qiyam and from his constant crying out of the fear of the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he would have two lines literally coming from his eyes. Uthman radiallahu anhu, it's mentioned that when he would pass by a grave, he would cry, and he would cry so much so his beard would be filled, it would be wet, and they would ask him, why are you crying so much? And he says that this manzila, or this qabr, the grave, is the first part of the levels of the akhirah, or the first station when it comes to the stations of the akhirah. And if a person passes this station, everything else becomes easy, and if he doesn't, it only becomes harder. So he's worried. He doesn't know, where am I going to go? Am I going to go this way or that way? And these, what Ibn al-Qayyim is trying to get at, rahimahullah, is these were the best people after the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yet they were not like some people today. You find that, oh no, it's all right, Allah will forgive, let me do as I please. The guy may not even read his salah, or he reads one salah and he thinks he's on top of the world. And look at the best of people. Hence, it's always important for a Muslim to have balance between ar-raja, hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as well as khawf, as well as fear on the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Too much hope makes a person do as he pleases without actually fearing the punishment. And too much fear is also not good, because it causes a person to just lose hope and feel completely useless. A believer, he generally, in most occasions, or on most, what should I say, a believer is ordered most of the time to maintain that balance. At times, it's permissible to increase one over the other. And one of the times it's mentioned is at the time of death, a person has more hope than fear, because inshallah he knows that he's going to a better place, bi'idhnillah. Those few words, we ask Allah to grant us goodness, beneficial knowledge, make us from those who attend lessons which are beneficial, make us from those whose gatherings are surrounded by the malaika, and those who are told that, you know what, you can carry on and your sins are forgiven. Ameen. Sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.